Ncbi Labs.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. You're very welcome to another Ncbi Labs live event, which brings us up to live event number 30 in our series. So this is JP Corcoran here with you today from the Labs team, and I'm standing in for my colleague Jude Marr, who is taking a much-deserved break this week, but will be back with us next Tuesday. I'm joined today by our regular panelists Sean Doran, Daniel Dunne, and Joe Lonergan. So I hope everyone listening in today is managing to stay safe and well. It's hard to believe that we're now 34 days into lockdown number 3, with the latest news telling us that there are current restrictions of level 5 set to remain in place up until March 5th. And it's with this in mind that we thought it would be a good idea to use this week's live event as an opportunity to check out some of the different types of accessible fitness devices that we can use to stay safe and active the coming weeks ahead, particularly throughout these difficult times that we find ourselves in. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Joining us today, we have Kristina Millar from Vision Sports Ireland, and she's going to be telling us about all the different types of supports and services that are available from Vision Sports and how we can get involved in some of the virtual fitness sessions and mindfulness sessions too that are soon going to be running. And after our conversation with Kristina, we're going to be joined by triathlete and Vision Sports Ireland member Donnacha McCarthy. So Donnacha is planning to represent Ireland in the triathlon at the Paralympic Games in Tokyo in August. And he's going to be telling us about the different types of accessible fitness devices and apps that he uses in his training and why we might like to consider trying out some of these apps and devices ourselves. Also this week on Meet the Team, we're going to be chatting with Daniel Dunne from the Labs team, who no doubt all our listeners will know well from all the previous live events that we've been running. And finally today, we're going to be announcing the winner of our competition for a blind shell mobile phone and an Amazon Echo Dot 4th generation. So lots of things are coming up on the show today. But to start off, as I mentioned a moment ago, joining us today on Meet the Team is someone who no doubt all our listeners will be familiar with because he's been with us right since our very first live event, which took place in March last year. As I'm sure anyone who tuned into our live event 2 weeks ago would agree, if you're ever having any issues with or need any support with your internet connection, he's definitely the guy you're going to want to contact. So Daniel, thanks so much for joining us today on Meet the Team.
JP, thanks very much. Thanks for the little title there of the fix your internet guy.
No, it was good. No, I enjoyed that piece. I have to say, you know, my own connection has been a bit dodgy for the last couple of days, Daniel. So I might be happy to be giving you a call myself.
Absolutely. We'll try and sort that one out for you, JP.
So just to start with, Daniel, I wonder, could you give us a bit of an overview of yourself? How long have you been with us in Ncbi, and whereabouts are you usually based?
Well, JP, I was shocked actually. You know, I kind of, when you said I'd be coming on to meet the team today, I think this was dropped to me yesterday. And this is actually, you know, that's one of the questions now that's going to come up is how long am I with the Ncbi? And I had to think back, and I'm actually here heading towards 4 years, and I just cannot fathom how quickly the time has gone. You know, it's been fantastic. And I suppose one thing you'd always find that, you know, if you're working in a role or doing the type of work that you really like, you just don't realise how quickly the time goes. So I suppose it's a testament to Ncbi and working for them, you know, that the time has flown by so quickly, but also, you know, the sense that the work I do with all our service users and interacting with our service users, it's totally enjoyable. And, you know, you could not actually wish for, you know, a better combination.
There's a good level of job satisfaction that comes with it then, Daniel, is there, you find?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And like with all the service users and all the different things that you come across, just, you know, nothing is the same. Everybody you meet has their own personality, and you know, all the different types of technical issues that come up, and the training that you deliver, and people learning different styles, you know, and it is really amazing and you know, thoroughly enjoyable. And, you know, while it is challenging, it keeps me on my toes, keeps the brain thinking, how can I solve this? How can I make this easier for somebody to do and deliver the training? Definitely, So
it's certainly a case, and Daniel, it sounds like there's no 2 days that are ever the same in your job, is there?
Absolutely not.
And Daniel, would you be mostly office based? Are you in the office mostly, or are you out a bit doing, you know, maybe work outside the office too? Maybe some home visits or different, maybe the camps that you're involved in?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a big flavour of, you know, between office, out in the road, going to events, home visits and all that. Now, primarily, I'm based out of the Portlaoise office, and I also cover Offaly as well. So I go between the two offices a fair bit, and work with Nicola in the Portlaoise office, the CRW there, and Aileen over in Tullamore. Big shout out to those two; they're absolutely fantastic work colleagues. And then with the children's teams, we run events. I suppose they're kind of targeted around times when kids are off school. So like your February break, your Easter break, summer break, and again for the midterm in October. So we try and run events, to capture our younger members when, obviously when they're off school and they've got time. And that can take place anywhere in the country. We've been to Limerick, we've been to Kildare, Cork, Mayo, all lovely places to go visit. So definitely very varied.
Excellent. What about your background? So before NCBI, Daniel, whereabouts were you based before you came to NCBI?
Well, where I kind of suppose got into, well, it would have been into computers at a very young age, even before finishing school and all that. But after school, I would have done a couple of years in Leixlip working. I suppose there was no such thing as an apprenticeship in computer building and installing software, configuring software. There wasn't, if you could call it an apprenticeship, and I did that with a company for a couple of years, and then that was up in Kildare, so it was a bit of a track at that time, commuting and all that. So an opportunity came up then in Portlaoise, which is a lot closer to where I live, and it was an electrical store. You're very like any of your high street electrical shops. But at the time they were getting into open up a new computer section, so it was computer sales and all that. But it did tie in with other technology, TVs and everything as well. But I was put in charge of that, so I ran that department there for them for I don't know, it could have been a decade or so. It's hard to keep tabs on the time. But unfortunately, the big recession hit in what it was, by the time it really took a toll on that in 2011, 2012, somewhere around there. Unfortunately, they closed down their electrical end of it, and from then I actually worked with another company, but they were involved in kind of refurbishing computers for charity, and a lot of the computers to refurbish went out to Africa and places like that. So that was good, to be doing something constructive there. And then I joined the NCBI there a couple of years ago. So that's a quick walkthrough of what I've had. So it's always been close to technology, computers and all that, close to my heart. So it
sounds like there was a huge amount of experience you would have gained from that previous role, Daniel, that you were able to bring into this new role in NCBI. I know, relatively speaking, over the last few years, particularly when it comes to technical support and people having issues with their laptop, issues with technology, I'm sure.
Absolutely, yeah. Like even going back to the days when I was doing the computer department in the electrical shop, like, you might have, somebody might have bought, a piece of equipment, whether it was a laptop or whatever. Technology, while it's great, it does give guff from time to time, and you might have a customer come back in, hey, look, there's something wrong here with the computer, and 9 times out of 10 I was able to solve it for them there over the counter, which was great. So I was keeping up with the technical support end of it as well as the sales.
Yeah. I understand, Daniel, you mentioned a moment ago you're involved in supporting the children's team too in NCBI. Can you tell us a bit about that more in more detail and some of the work that you do there? Yeah,
well, prior to COVID, we would have went around the country to different places, and we'd run, I suppose, what we call camps, and working with the CRWs in the children's team, another great bunch of people there. We would have ran, I suppose, half of it would have been AT focused, and the other half would be kind of getting out and active and being out and about, and they've done all sorts of great things like challenges and everything outdoors as well, particularly for the summer ones. So planning those, believe it or not, like there's a good chunk of time going into it, liaising with all the other staff members to make sure that what we want to cover and trying and tailor to the guys we knew that were going to come. So there was a lot of that in it too,
Yeah, and Daniel, you're also involved in supporting children using different types of refreshable Braille displays too. Is that right, in different schools?
That's correct, yeah. Yes, so sometimes we get queries in from the schools. You know, the Braille, refreshable Braille devices are, you know, they're a little bit tricky at times, particularly technical support and those, you know, making sure we can connect to the internet. You know, if a child is after typing up an essay or something, wants to print it off, being able to, you know, connect it to a printer, all those kind of things, emails, everything. So plenty of support there too.
Yeah. And Daniel, before we finish, is there anything in particular that you're working on at the moment?
Yeah. Well, since the COVID came in, we have refocused our training efforts to try and deliver them online now. So using this Microsoft Teams app, we set up the workshops and we try and deliver as much as we can, you know, in small groups through Microsoft Teams. So over the last couple of months, I suppose, really since last August, we've been working with groups of children, you know, delivering training in Microsoft Word and PowerPoint and being able to do email and all that kind of thing. You know, so we do as much as we can. Like, obviously it's limited virtually, but we'll absolutely push those limitations to what we can deliver there.
Yeah, it's certainly great to have that offering, isn't it? To have everything available online as much as we can online, when we can't meet in person.
It is, and you know, I will say is, after, you know, kind of looking back over these last few months throughout the lockdown and how we've delivered our training content online, like, it has been very, very successful. The feedback come from both the students and the parents involved has been excellent. Or, you know, people are very appreciative that we are here, we're offering this service, you know, and all the feedback has been good and it's been enjoyable. We've done a particular group of sessions there at August, and in fairness now to the guys on the children's team, you know, to come in and they said, right, okay, we're going to actually interrupt the class every 20 minutes and just get kids up out of the chairs, stretch their arms, put on a bit of music, get them to dance to it, you know, bring a little bit of fun into it. We still have to live and laugh too, you know. I know these are tough times, but we have to have the laugh and a bit of crack too, because that's who we are at the end of the day, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Daniel, thanks very much for taking the time to talk to us today for the Meet the Team piece. It's much appreciated. So I think you're going to stay with us though for our section coming up later on the accessible fitness devices. So Daniel, thanks again.
Thanks very much, JP, and you know, you're great there. I was kind of worried about if Jude was here today, he might give me a quirky question, but thank you very much.
No worries. All right, nice one, Daniel. Thanks again.
You're more than welcome.
Great. So just as a reminder, guys, if anyone has any questions on today's show, as always, you can just post directly to our Q&A panel, or you can send them to labs@ncbi.ie, and I'll make sure to get right back to you. So, as I mentioned earlier, much of the focus of today's show is going to be centered around the different types of accessible fitness devices, ranging from smartwatches to smart speakers that we can use to help stay active and healthy during these very challenging times. But before this, we'd like to tell you a little bit about the great supports and services that are available through Vision Sports Ireland, which is aimed at promoting the different types of sport and leisure activities for blind and vision impaired people around the country. And to tell us more about Vision Sports Ireland today, I'm delighted to be joined by Kristina Millar. So Kristina, you're very welcome to our live event.
Hi JP, how are you?
Great. Well, thanks a lot for coming on.
No worries, anytime.
So Kristina, can you tell us a bit about Vision Sports Ireland and the work they do?
Yeah, of course. So Vision Sports is the national governing body for sport for people who are blind or vision impaired. So as an organisation, we work with all kinds of people with any level of sight, anywhere in Ireland for any sport at any skill level. So we cover everything from very basic recreation participation all the way through to we have some of our elite athletes that have attended the Paralympics, people like Donnacha, who you're going to hear from later on.
Yeah, yes. In this little date, the current restrictions that we're in have been challenging for everyone, but both physically and mentally. But I think much more of an impact has been felt by the kind of sight loss community. What do you think about that as well?
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely something that we've been really focusing on lately. We did a survey back in May of last year, I think when COVID was really starting and the restrictions were, had been in place for a couple of weeks. And we found that 90% of our members who responded stated that their physical activity had been severely impacted, and that as a result, 50% of them said that their mental health was declining as well. We've actually rerun the survey then now this month, and we found very similar results in that 86% are getting less physical activity than normal, and 57% of people now are saying that their mental health has been negatively affected. So it's definitely something that's a big challenge, and it's something that we're really looking for all ways that we can kind of support people and make sure everyone's staying healthy and active, because physical activity isn't just about physical health, it's also about the mental health side of things.
Absolutely, yeah. And just go back to Vision Sports. I wonder, could you tell us about some of the different types of sports that people can get involved in through Vision Sports?
Yeah, no worries. So Vision Sports, we're kind of a multi-prong, as we call it. And so there's kind of four main things that we would do as an organisation. So the first one is we work with people one-to-one within their communities locally. For example, if you lived in Portlaoise and you wanted to get involved and get back into your local gym, or perhaps you've never been to the gym before, or you'd like to try golf, or you'd like to try another sport, you can get in contact with us if you just need a bit of a hand. And we can look and work with the local county councils, and we can work with our CRWs in the area through Ncbi to find you a gym that works for you and a golf club that works for you. The second kind of strand of what we would do is we work with clubs and other national governing bodies in what we call adapted sports. So sports like tennis, for example, we work with Enjoy Tennis and Tennis Island, and there's blind and VI tennis then available. And we also have the same for football, and we have swimming classes, and our newest one being hopefully starting in the summer, restrictions start to kind of calm down a little bit, will be with the IRFU. We've got a new VI rugby program running. The third kind of level of it then would be our flagship events. So again, with COVID, we're hoping, but every day it's kind of looking a little bit less, but we might be able to postpone it again. We have flagship events like Mayfest and Inclusion Games and Capabilities. Mayfest is a really great one because it's a bit of a taster event, so you can come along for the weekend and try a load of different sports, and it gives you maybe an idea of what you might like to look into later on and pursue. And our fourth kind of strand would be the innovation strand. So it's where we're trying to find solutions to problems. So for example, with the restrictions, a lot of people when they're running, for example, require a guide runner. But the thing with a guide runner is, if they're not living with you by the government restrictions, you probably shouldn't be within 2 meters of them. So we were looking for ways, and we worked with our O&M team, and we developed a new method of running, which we called long cane running. So where you would traditionally use a long cane for navigation, we thought, well, if you're being guided by someone could take the other end of the cane, and it almost becomes like a very long, very rigid running tether. So we got some volunteers from Parkrun Island. It was great, and they came along and they helped us, and we tried this, and it worked. It worked quite well, and it meant that people were able to get out and get running in their local area, and kind of resume that outdoor activity where they perhaps didn't live with a guide or live with someone who was able to come and exercise with them. Obviously, with COVID and stuff, we've been looking for other ways to kind of get people involved and remain kind of supported within their community. So we've also had a podcast series called Nice to Meet You.
Yes.
Sorry,
come across that one.
Great. So they're available on our YouTube channel if anyone's looking for a bit of light entertainment after they've obviously finished the 30 episodes of the Labs Live events.
Yes, excellent. Because just as meeting in groups is not an option right now, Is there a way for Vision Sports members to, for example, take part in any online sessions they can do to keep active and stay well, look after their health, over the different lockdowns that we've been going through?
Yeah, definitely. So I think in the last kind of snapshot we did from our members, we were really asking what's the best thing we can do to actually support you, and loads of people came back with online classes. So we've put together a series now, and we have they're starting actually this week, and I think there may be a couple of places left, but if not, keep an eye on our pages because they're proving to be really popular. So we might be releasing more of these kind of online exercise classes. Right. So the ones we have starting at the moment are 2 days a week. We have a cardio and resistance training, and that is provided by a friend of Vision Sports called Helen, who's actually Danica's girlfriend. So you can read about that one later. And we also have a set of mindfulness classes running. So it's a 6-week program, and it's in collaboration with Nature Therapy Island. So it's something a bit different, but again, it's physical activity for the mind instead. But yeah, these are proving to be really popular, so it's something that I think we'll continue to look at in the future, because it looks like online classes and that kind of community and exercise might be the way forward for a little while.
Excellent. And how does someone get involved in those classes? If someone wants to sign up, who do they contact? Is there a website they can go on to sign up? Yeah,
of course. So probably the best way to keep up to date with what's going on in and around Vision Sports in a way of kind of group classes and events would be to follow our newsletter or hit us up on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So if you just search Vision Sports, you'll be able to find us, and there's constant updates kind of about things that are going on, whether that might be in your local community or through Vision Sports itself. So our online classes and how to register will be on there. If you need help then linking in, or you want to be linking in with a specific sport, or you'd like some advice on something, please feel free at any point in time to drop us an email. So we're just visionsports@ncbi.ie. Or I'm sure if you get in contact with anyone in the labs team, they'll be able to forward on my details.
It certainly will. And Kristina, just for some people who are listening, maybe they have a friend or family member who would be interested in volunteering with Vision Sports. Is there an opportunity for them to do so?
Definitely. We're a small team, and I'd like to think that we pack a fairly strong punch, but it does mean we are heavily reliant on volunteers, and basically we love to have anyone involved that wants to be involved. So even during the pandemic, when we were out in the parks with the programs, we got 25 new members over about a 4-week period of people that were just looking to come and get involved. It's great. We love it. There's a whole range of kind of opportunities where we're looking for people, and whether that's through fundraising or if it's through, your local club, or you'd like to be directly involved. So for example, at our flagship events, we're always looking for people to help out with any number of jobs. So definitely, if you'd like to volunteer, we will always accept the help.
So, okay, well, that's really good to know. Kristina, listen, thank you so much for joining us today and telling us all about the work that Vision Sports are doing, and of course how we can get involved in the different virtual classes that are due to start very soon. So again, it's much appreciated.
Thanks very much, guys. Good luck.
Thank you. Okay, so we've heard about Vision Sports from Kristina a moment ago, and we're now going to talk about some of the different types of accessible fitness device and apps, as well as some of the options available in smart speakers that we can use too to stay fit and keep well. And to help with this, I'm going to now be joined by our panel of Sean, Daniel, and Joe. To start with, we're going to be hearing about different types of device like the smartwatch, which has become so popular in recent times. So I wonder, Joe, could you just give us a quick overview of exactly what is a smartwatch and what features it has to offer?
Hi, JP. How's it going?
Yeah.
So a smartwatch or a smart wearable, I suppose, is there's a couple of most popular ones are the Apple Watch and a Fitbit, Fitbit Charge 4 and Fitbit Versa. So they're more popular ones. There's also the Suno band, which is more for mobility.
Yes.
And it has a few things included, like a pedometer, and it can aid you in getting directions around and that kind of stuff, and it can track your I suppose that's a little bit different to a smartwatch, but you get the idea. So I suppose with an Apple Watch, it's almost like an iPhone on your wrist. You can get your notifications on the screen, your text messages, your WhatsApp messages, your it also can monitor your heartbeat. You can do an ECG on it. If you ever had a problem with irregular heartbeats, any of that kind of stuff, it'll notify you. So, for example, if you were stationary and your heartbeat was going above 140 beats per minute, the Apple Watch will let you know.
Yeah.
And if you were going under 40 beats per minute, the Apple Watch will also let you know. That kind of thing. So you can see a lot of these, I suppose, health insurance companies, they're giving discounts on Apple Watches for reasons like that. Yeah. It also has fall detection, so if you fell and you didn't get up, it would call 999, that kind of thing. But it can be, it's very useful as regards an accessory. So
and perhaps it's one of the more popular types of smartwatch for someone who maybe is using voiceover.
Yeah, exactly, and it includes voiceover. So it reads everything back to you on the screen, and Siri is also integrated, so you can reply to your text messages using Siri. You can ask the watch questions using Siri to read out your notifications, that kind of stuff. So you can even make phone calls on the Apple Watch as long as your phone is nearby. Speaker is quite good on it actually, but you can't listen to music on it because I think it drains the battery a little bit too quick, or listen to audiobooks. But you can connect your AirPods to it, so. That's the Apple Watch roughly in a breakdown. So the battery life would last you roughly a day or a day and a half, I suppose. One other thing missed there is sleep tracking. You can track your sleep on it as well. So we'll say, moving on to the Fitbit, I suppose they're a bit more scaled down version of the Apple Watch. Fitbit Charge 3 doesn't have any screen, so I suppose as you can understand, a blind or vision impaired person can access it through the app on their phone. It tracks your steps, distance walked, ran, that kind of stuff. Whether you cycle, that kind of thing. Also, you can track your sleep on them as well, and you can also connect the Fitbit app to your Alexa. So there's a Fitbit skill, so you can ask your Alexa. It'll save you, I suppose, going on your phone again, but you can ask your Alexa, how many calories I've burned today, what distance have I walked, that kind of thing, So there's also a Fitbit Versa 3. I think you might be very familiar with that one, JP. I think it has Alexa built into it.
That's right. So I do. I use the Fitbit Versa 3 myself, and it provides me the various health stats that you went through a moment ago, like things like steps, distance walked, sleep, and your heart rate, and so on. I know the Fitbit watch has been around for a number of years, but it's worth pointing out that some of the latest versions, like the Versa 3, for example, comes with built-in Alexa and a Google Assistant. So besides being able to ask your watch, say the time, you can also ask your watch different health stats and so on. As you mentioned, there's the Fitbit app. It's available on iOS and Android, so I'm often on my phone making sure, just to kind of looking through different stats there. So it goes directly to your mobile device. And also I say the Fitbit skill on the Echo, which I've tried, and that works pretty well. So asking Alexa things like, your step count, or how long you've slept, or your heart rate, and so on. One of the interesting things I found about Fitbit, recently it was actually bought out by Google. It's actually for a fee of $2.1 billion. So it kind of highlights how popular these smart wearables have become in recent times. And it's going to be interesting to see.
I think to note there, JP, with the likes of the Fitbits, like they don't have like an inbuilt screen reader into them, so like that's why you need a native screen reader on your phone to go to the app on your phone to retrieve data. And like you said, you also have a skill on your Alexa. So while some of these things are not sort of accessible on your arm, the information that goes to your phone is accessible through your phone screen reader. I think that's important for people to know.
That is interesting, particularly when you consider the price difference between, I suppose, some of the more expensive smartwatches and the Fitbit. So
what Joe was saying there, like an Apple Watch can play music and it can connect to the internet. It can do nearly anything like an iPhone can do to a certain degree, and like then your Fitbit counts your steps and your heart rate and does other fitness tracking. So that there is a difference there.
There is a difference there.
And the Apple Watch, about the Apple app coming in, guys. It's actually quite a good one. So particularly I suppose when the expensive is taken into account. Like, could two people share an Apple Watch? I guess, would it be easy to sign in and out with an Apple ID on it? Has anyone looked at that?
Sharing it, I don't know, but you don't need to have. You can set up other people on a watch. Say, for example, you want to set your son up. He doesn't have to have an iPhone. You can set up 2 Apple Watches from the one iPhone. I know that.
Okay.
Well,
so if you want to set up somebody just under the age of, we'll say 16 or whatever, and they don't have an iPhone, or you don't want them to have a smartphone, but you don't mind them having an Apple Watch, maybe for certain reason, just to help with their fitness, or it's something you might want them to have. At least you can set it up for them. So that's a help. And
it is a big rigmarole, and you'd have to log out and log back in, and then the person who's logged out, none of their steps will be recorded, none of their heart rates will be recorded. So you're actually, unless you're sitting idle for the rest of the day, like, you're not going to get accurate readings at the end of the day if you're sharing a device like that.
Yeah. Now, I suppose, like, there is a bit of food for thought in it, like that with what Joe said there, that if you had one iPhone for 2 Apple Watches, that is a success. So maybe that could be an approach to be taken.
Yeah. That's the idea behind it. Like, I set up a couple of profiles in the Apple Health app for numerous family members that might want an Apple Watch. But going back to the Apple Watch, they recently brought out, well, I think it was last year, Apple Watch SE. So it's a cheaper model. I know cheap might be the wrong word, but it's cheaper than the Series 6. So Apple Watch SE, it's approximately €299 the last time I checked. All depends what kind of strap you get it and all that kind of stuff. But the basic model is €299, and it does everything that the Series 6 does, except for the oxygen. It doesn't read your oxygen levels, and it doesn't have the always on display. And always on display isn't that important if you can't see the display in the first place. So I wouldn't stress about that. But they look exactly the same, and the battery life is exactly the same, and also the speed of the watch, the processor speed is the exact same. So if you weren't interested in the reading your oxygen levels, which at the moment a lot of people reckon it is not that useful at the moment, but it's more the potential in the future that they're trying to build towards, and that's why Apple are including it. So I think Apple Watch SE is a great choice if you're thinking of going that direction.
And JP, I was just saying that I use an Android watch. So while the Apple Watches are Watch OS, Android watches are Wear OS. It's a very different and much better name, but it's similar to the Apple Watch in terms of, like, there's a Play Store on. I can download different apps. I can download different fitness apps. I can turn on TalkBack onto it and use TalkBack with it. And likewise, anything that's recorded onto the watch is recorded onto my phone. So therefore, on my phone, whether I need to use magnification or TalkBack, I can access the same data that's on the watch. And the watch also natively has TalkBack.
Yeah. There's also a theory out there that by having an Apple Watch, it makes you go on your phone less, because you get all those, well, some people might call them useless notifications from the likes of Facebook or Twitter, and there's hundreds of them or whatever. At least with the Apple Watch, you can swipe them away. If you pick up your iPhone, you might end up mindlessly scrolling through social networks for half an hour, and at least it might take away from the addiction of that as well. That's I
noticed a bad habit, Joe, when I first got a smartwatch. Anytime I got like a text message or a notification, I'd raise my wrist to read if it was important enough, but anyone who I was talking to in person thought I was checking my watch to see when is this conversation going to end. So
It's like that.
it's introduced a whole load of new social faux pas for me.
Yeah.
And Daniel, you have a smartwatch as well. Is it a Samsung? Is that right?
I do, yeah. I have the Samsung now. It's only the first generation one.
Are the features quite similar to the kind of the features that we talked about earlier with the Fitbit, the Apple Watch, and the Android Watch that Sean has? Similar kind of features?
Yeah, very similar features, and from an accessibility point of view, it has a screen reader on it as well. I've given it a bit of a road test and found it quite good. Now, as I say, it is the first generation of the Samsung Watch. I know there's 2 more since. So just one thing I would say that was a little bit disappointing if I was reliant on VoiceOver is that I would need sight assistance to just set it up the once off.
Yeah.
Now we're not sure if Samsung have addressed that in the other two models, but when you're powered on first, definitely, you know, straight out of the box, you would need somebody to get you to settings to switch on the voice over on it. So that would be a small little throwback from Samsung there. But other than that, yeah, it's quite good. Your notifications come through. You can do the calls through it. The heart rate monitor is on it. Steps is on it. You know, lots and lots of the features that are universal, I suppose, across all the models we've been discussing today.
Okay, excellent.
Is it waterproof? Daniel?
This particular one, there's a setting in it that if you feel it has got wet, you activate this water thing, and it tells you to wash off and shake it out. So I'm guessing that it's only water resistant, maybe, and if you're worried that you've jumped into the swimming pool with it on it,
yeah, you won't be using it for swimming. I think Apple Watch, anyway, it is waterproof. You can swim with the Apple Watch, and it will track your swimming as well, I suppose. That's another plus on that side.
Honestly, this could be a very good opportunity as well to bring Donnacha McCarthy into the conversation. So when we're talking about different types of accessible fitness tech, I know Donnacha as a very experienced user of different devices, of different technologies that he uses in his day-to-day training. As I mentioned earlier, he is a member of Vision Sports Ireland, and at the moment he is training for a place in the Paralympic Games in Tokyo this August. And so Donnacha, you're very welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks very much, JP.
Great to have you with us. So first off, Donnacha, is it likely that we're going to have the Paralympic Games taking place in August with everything that's going on? The pandemic?
I don't know if I'm one that to comment on that, but
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, yeah. And look, I think as far as everyone's concerned, the plan is for the games to go ahead. So that's what I'm training for, as if they are anyway. So
great. And Donnacha, I wonder, before we start talking about the tech that you use, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, if you don't mind?
Yeah, sure. So I suppose just for anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Donnacha. So I'm from Cork, living in Dublin at the moment, and work full time with Vodafone. So as you mentioned, I'm also training for the Paralympics later this year. So I compete in para triathlon. So I'm a member of the Triathlon Ireland, the high performance team there. So
right. And sorry, Donnacha, for some people who are listening in, the triathlon, what kind of what different events, or what kind of different events are consisted in the triathlon? So how does it work? Does it swim? Started off with a swim?
Yeah, so it starts with a swim, then a bike, then a run. So the distance I compete in, it's called sprint distance. So it's a 750 meter swim, 20k bike, and a 5k run. And I'm totally blind, so I compete in the event with a guide. So they go through the whole event with me. So obviously in the swim, we're tethered, and the bike section is competed on a tandem. Then running wise, where we use the tether as well. So
okay, excellent. And just going back to the technology, Donnacha, can you tell us about the different types of accessible fitness devices that you would use yourself, and how they benefit your training?
Yeah, so I'm primarily an Apple user. So the device I primarily use is actually the Apple Watch. So the guys there have actually gone through quite a few features on it.
Okay.
So just for me, I primarily use the watch for swimming and running. So obviously to count my intervals and workouts in the pool, and then obviously for running to make sure I'm staying on par for my sessions with pace and heart rate. And then for the bike, training wise, I complete most of my sessions on it's an indoor trainer, and I just use my phone to connect to that, so that reads out stats like my heart rate and power and stuff like that. So I'm able to, I suppose, keep to the sessions prescribed.
And do you have an app that you use on your phone, Donnacha, for that? Yeah,
so I actually use Wahoo Fitness is the name of the app. So the trainer I use, it's called a Wahoo Kicker. So basically the phone connects to that via the app, and then you're able to stick a bike on that turbo trainer, and then it reads out so your power, and connect a heart rate monitor, so it reads out your heart rate as well. So depending on the sessions I have, I can monitor those stats, you know.
Yeah. And as one question, maybe you could just confirm for us: is the Apple Watch waterproof, fully waterproof, then for your swimming?
It is, yeah. I can attest to that.
Okay, that's good.
So
Okay.
yeah, so like I know there's an inbuilt within the workout app on the Apple Watch. You can do, there's either pool swim or open water swim. So obviously for me, triathlons, you compete in open water rather than the pool. So during the summer, obviously I can use that for outdoor swimming, and during the winter then in the pool. So it works perfectly in both environments.
Okay. And Danica, just generally speaking, like, how much do you think this technology has evolved since you first started training? So like say with new apps that have come out and new wearables and that kind of thing.
Yeah, like it's come on a lot. Like there's just so many different, I suppose, external gadgets now and stuff you can get for monitoring stuff. Like you can get really detailed into it if you want, like monitoring your foot strike when you're running, or monitoring your sleep, tracking your heart rate variability, all this kind of stuff. So I think since I started trading, maybe back in 2016, like I'm not sure what generation of the Apple Watch is out at that stage, but might have been only the second generation. But I think it's more what third-party options are out there that can integrate with the watch is really improved it. So like the watch itself, the workout apps on it are good, but they're probably a little bit basic. But then there's so many third-party options out there, and app developers to, I suppose, you can install them as separate apps on the watch and then use them in your training. So you can, I suppose, look into stuff in a lot more detail and get a lot more specific information out of it.
Yeah, right. So clearly then, Donnacha, there's obviously like significant benefits of using an Apple Watch over as a standard like wristwatch, isn't there, for someone who's training? Like
yeah, definitely. And like for me, I suppose, like I know there's other fitness watches out there that athletes use, like Garmin and Polar and stuff like that. But like obviously the Apple Watch, for me, it's accessible and it's just easy to use, and I'm able to get all the information I need out of it. And really, for me, that's probably the most important thing, is just keeping things as simple as possible, you know.
Yeah. And Donnacha, are there any particular types of accessible fitness like device that you'd recommend to someone who has sight loss, maybe who's not familiar with the different types of apps and smart wearables that are out there? Maybe someone who's just starting off.
Yeah, like I suppose just for starting off, like I know the Apple Watch it's quite an expensive I suppose piece of equipment, but like there's a lot of apps out there for the iPhone as well, so you can show like 7-minute workouts and different core workouts, and like even on YouTube, like that's all accessible via the iPhone as well, and there's loads of online workouts there. And similar, like you've mentioned Alexa already, and there's loads of guided workouts on that too. So like there's loads of options there for people starting out. For me personally, I think like if fitness is something you want to get into seriously, and you actually want to make a part of your life, I do really recommend the Apple Watch. I think it's I suppose what's inbuilt in it already is really useful, and Apple are very good from an accessibility point of view. So accessibility is always at the forefront. So there's no, I suppose, messing around or trying to come up with workarounds to make stuff work. So it just works out of the box, which is really good.
Donnacha, have you heard of the the Peloton bike now that comes with Android built into it. It's a stationary bike, like for home training, but it has like a tablet mounted to the front, which, you know, visual people will just click and touch whatever needs to be done. But you can also turn on talk back in the background, so you can navigate through the screen, set your program, listen to all your recordings, get all the feedback you need. But I think that's a great step that companies are providing that in the background for everyday devices. I know it's a gym level price for a bike like that, but it's a step in the right direction, because maybe all home devices then will have maybe something like that built into it. Or if you attend the gym, there's no reason why you couldn't have that talk back or voiceover turned on.
Yeah, exactly. And like there's other, I suppose, commercial grade equipment out there, like Watt Bike is another one. I've used that in the gym myself, and it has an app for the iPhone that connects to the bike, so you can read off all your stats, and like that's really accessible as well. And like, as I mentioned, what I use myself, Wahoo, all their equipment links to the iPhone, and they're very responsive as well to making sure that the app on the iPhone and the apps that they use are accessible, and especially with voiceover, you know.
I suppose just how like technology is becoming smarter, everything has some sort of operating system built into it now. And like we discussed on previous live events, how televisions, like the Samsung television, will have a screen reader built into it. It's not an Android operating system, it's not an Apple operating system, but they have put a screen reader in. The same with the Peloton bike. So hopefully, like we're saying there, in the future, all companies would consider, I suppose, is creating awareness of the need for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Hello, Donnacha. There, Joe here. Outside of fitness, what do you find the Apple Watch most useful for?
Like, say, outside of fitness, like I do find it very useful from, I suppose, just tracking my sleep, and I do listen to quite a lot of audiobooks on it. Just even general timers, so if I'm around the house, if I'm doing a bit of cooking, I can just activate Siri on it and ask it to set a timer or an alarm on my watch. They're probably the things I find most useful. To be honest, I don't use it a whole pile for notifications, because when I'm training, I don't want notifications constantly popping up on my wrist telling me of WhatsApp or Facebook or anything like that. So I have that all switched off. But I think from that point of view, like it can be very useful for that as well. As you mentioned, it's very easy to get distracted by social media if you're looking at notifications on your phone, whereas on the watch, at least you can have a quick glance and dismiss it straight away, you know.
True. Excellent. Thanks.
Great.
No problem.
Yeah, well, Donnacha, thanks very much for joining us today and giving us an insight into your training and the different technology that you use to complement that. So we'd like to wish you every bit of success in your training and competitions over the next few months. And all going well, we'll see you in the Paralympic Games over in Tokyo in August.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Thanks very much for having me on.
Best of luck, Donnacha.
Thanks, Danica.
So we're now going to turn to our tech Q&A. And I understand we've received 2 questions that we're going to answer today. And I think we're going to have Sean and Daniel join us for this. So the first question was from someone who was asked, is there an easy way to find out whether you will need to pay custom charges when online shopping on UK websites and other websites outside of the EU?
Well, the short answer is there's no easy way, but it's checking the website itself. Like things like Amazon now currently, for the next few months, if an item is under €20, you don't pay VAT at all, and you end up actually saving money on an item that's €20 or less for the next few weeks anyway. And then above that, then you will pay VAT on it. And then above, I think, is it €90 or above €100, then you pay import duty on it. So it is checking these websites. So we know, like, that Amazon currently, you don't pay VAT less than €20. Over that there, you're paying VAT on top of that. And then if it's, you know, a high ticket item, if it's expensive, you will be paying import duty. And Amazon take import duty off you up front. So you pay import duty through their checkout basket. While other websites, you know, they won't charge you import duty. It'll be sent by the courier or the post office, whoever's delivering it, and then it could end up through customs, and then it could just float through customs. You don't get charged. Or, you know, if they inspect it and say, well, this has actually cost such and such, can you please send me your invoice for this, or how much you paid for this? And then they'll charge you customs on top of that. So websites that you pay customs up front, it's quicker, there's no messing around, but then there's also the chance that you know, I mean, when you order through some other sites, there's a chance that you don't have to pay customs. It's very slim. I prefer just to pay it up front so there's no delay in something coming.
Yeah, I feel the same. Yeah.
But just to answer the question, like you do kind of have to check with the website, their policy, like are they charging this and that, and each website's going to be different. It's kind of a messy few weeks now with Brexit being introduced, and there's delays on our own products coming into NCBI. There's delays in products everywhere being shipped, and until this is all worked out, we don't have a clear answer.
I was just going to say that, Sean, a lot of products have become unavailable at the moment because of Brexit. I think it's to do with the red tape that has to be gone through, and companies aren't going through with it at the moment, you know?
I think so, Joe. So even like if we're ordering in digital magnifiers or laptops or computers, and like, you know, there's an extra delay on products now currently because of Brexit, and because the organizations and the companies that sell these things are still kind of working this out.
Okay, so we might have to watch this space as well.
That's exactly.
Hopefully it'll settle down over the you know, the coming weeks and months, as companies probably, I suppose, to get used to the procedures and things get settled down. It might solve itself.
Absolutely.
Okay. So another question that we received last week is there a shortcut to check the battery level on your laptop in Windows 10? The person doesn't specify whether they're a screen reader user, but that's a question that we received. Daniel, you were looking into this as well for this week.
Yeah, there's two ways of getting to it. Probably the most familiar, and even if you weren't a Windows 10 user, that you'd hold down the Windows key and press the B and just keep arrowing across right. Sometime, you know, depending how many icons are there, but you'll eventually get across to the battery, and it'll tell you whether you're fully charged or in charging, and it'll give you a percentage readout as well. You can go a wee bit more on a Windows 10 laptop. You can go a wee bit more into the battery itself. If you hit the start button, type in battery and hit enter, it'll also bring you in there to give you a breakdown, I suppose, of what apps and programs running that are using the most power and battery level. So that might be a handy thing to know. You know, maybe there's something running in the background that's eating the battery a little bit more than you'd like, and maybe if it wasn't necessary, you could switch that app off, which is nice to know as well. Right. So I suppose that's two ways of
ways to do it. Okay.
Two ways of getting to the one thing. Yeah.
Thanks for going through that, Daniel. Nice one. So just for moving on to our quick tech tips this week. I think Sean and Daniel have some tips prepared for us in relation to using the rotor in VoiceOver, and also a gesture for navigating headings with TalkBack on Android devices.
That's correct, JP. So like we were discussing last week about navigating and like swiping from left to right, I suppose like for people who are familiar with screen reader users, that's kind of like akin to tabbing and shift tabbing. So swipe left is tab, and swipe from left to right is tab, and swipe from right to left is like shift tab. So like, and you're moving through the elements on the screen. So if you're on a website, you know, at the start they have lots and lots of menus, and you're in and out of them before you get to the body of the text, or before you get to the first heading in the text. So if you're a screen reader user on a keyboard, we know we press H to go to heading, and we can jump straight to that heading. So on an iPhone, we can also do that by turning the rotor. So it's putting two fingers on the screen and turning as if you're turning a radio dial. And that will move from the selectable elements. So it might say like headings, links, speaking rate, and whatever one you land on will be the next item when you swipe up or down. So if I turn the rotor to headings and I'm on a website and I swipe down, I will jump to the next heading. If I swipe down again, I'll jump to the heading after that. If I swipe up, then I'll jump to the previous heading. So moving the rotor, it's like turning a dial on the screen. It takes a bit of practice. It's 2 fingers and you turn and the fingers move in opposite directions slightly, just as if you were holding a real radio dial. And that will turn the rotor, and the rotor will have different options for depending on which app you have open. Like you could set the containers, and it would jump to the containers in the website, like tabs and maybe like calendar items and things like that. Depends on what way the website's laid out. But then Android have a similar process, but slightly different. So while swiping left, right in Android is the same as tabbing and shift tabbing, there's no rotor on the Android. So when you swipe up or down, you move through a list. So if I swipe up, it'll say like links. So if I swipe up again, it'll be headings. So if I swipe up again, it could be containers. So if I swiped up until I heard headings, now swiping left to right will move through headings. I then have to swipe up and down again to get back to normal navigation. So it's an extra step in Android, but it's once you're used to it, it's very quick. But the rotor, you know, whatever you leave the rotor on last within that app, it'll remember. So if it's on headings, it'll stay in headings. While on Android, I have to go back to swiping up or down to go back to the normal navigation.
Right.
So it's a very useful thing for speeding up navigation throughout websites, because like I said, you could be at the top of a website and you know you have to, before you get to the news item, you have to swipe 30 times to go through every menu item that's there. Yeah. While I know if I can swipe down, go straight to a heading.
Great. Okay, so it could save us a lot of time.
That's what it's all about. Yeah, absolutely. Just getting more efficient, moving through the information.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean. Great. Okay. So before we finish, we'd like to announce the winners of our competition for an Amazon Echo and Blind Shell Classic mobile phone. So we have one of these prizes for each winner. I'd like to thank everyone who took part in our competition by entering a live event survey. So we did receive a high number of responses, and all the feedback that we received is greatly appreciated, as it's going to allow us to continue to improve and develop our live events in the future. So having drawn the 2 winners' names from a hat a moment ago, we'd like to say congratulations to Edvard Navaka from Cluny in Dublin, who has won himself an Amazon Echo, and Martin Kelly from Newbridge in Kildare, who has won himself a Blind Shell Classic mobile phone. So congratulations to Edvard and Martin. Your prizes will be on the way to you soon.
Well done.
Just as a reminder, if you have any technology support queries that you'd like to send to the labs team, you can contact us at 1850 92 30 60, or you can email labs@ncbi.ie, or to avail of our wider services, you can call us on 1850 33 43 53, or email info@ncbi.ie. If you'd like to make a donation to NCBI, you can visit our donate.ncbi.ie website, or even if you would like to sponsor one of our live events, you can send us an email to labs@ncbi.ie. So coming up over the next few weeks, we're going to be discussing our live events, different things, including the accessible Acorn Smart Tablet. We'll be taking a look at different types of blind shell mobile phones. We'll have an interview with the developers of NVDA from NV Access to talk about the popular screen reader. We'll also be finding out about a new tactile handheld tablet that has been developed by a tech startup called Field of Vision. That's going to help blind and vision impaired people track and visualize live sports matches. So all of this to come over the next few weeks. The next live event is going to be taking place on Tuesday, February 2nd at 2:30 p.m. That's next Tuesday. Just as a reminder, the technology newsletter goes out every Friday, and you can keep up to date with what's coming up on all the future live events and be kept informed of the latest technology news for people with sight loss if you want to subscribe. You can do so by emailing us at labs@ncbi.ie or visiting our website www.ncbi.ie. So all that's left for me to do today is to thank our panel of Sean, Daniel and Joe, our guests Kristina and Donnacha, and of course everyone for listening in as well. So take care everyone, and we look forward to having you back next week for another NCBI Labs live event.